Richard Berthelsen has been standing by. He's our royal commentator. Have you ever seen Prince Harry so happy, Richard?
I actually haven't, and kind of relaxed in a way, a bit emotional. I mean, referring to the media as you guys, kind of almost fondly, actually.
Yes.
Which, given his relationship with the media over the years, I found kind of extraordinary. So it was I think a very touching human moment. Not unlike his brother, the way he reacted and responded to questions very candidly and affably, in his case, outside the hospital. But it was a really, I think everyone can relate to where he was coming from today. And of course, he credited the Duchess for going through this process. And I'm sure witnessing someone like that, as he said, how any woman does this is beyond him. So, very emotional, very, very happy moment for them. And of course, very interesting that the palace really kept this news, for quite a while. Now that we're learning it actually occurred at 5:36 a.m. UK time, which would be, midnight in Eastern Canada.
Yeah, and I believe we've got the Instagram, because this is the era, this is the age we live in. We've got something to show everyone. This is the official word that went out on Insta. We're pleased to announce that the Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, welcomed their firstborn child in the early morning, May 6, 2019. The Royal Highness's son weighs in at 7 pounds, 3 ounces. And Richard, it is worth repeating, this couple haven't even been married a year. What a year it's been for Harry. And, given his history and anyone who has read books about him and the relationship that he had with his mother and all that he went through, this has to be the best year that he has had. And it's so exciting, and you just can't help but feel so thrilled for this couple.
Well, absolutely. And of course, you were there last year when you saw all the excitement there was in the streets of Windsor around this wedding. And, again, I'm not surprised at all that this has happened so quickly because, we know the Duchess is age 37. We know that Prince Harry, is very drawn to children, seems very, very comfortable with them, probably wanted to have a family, very quickly. And as you say, a lot has happened. They've married. They've undertaken some significant royal tours in that time. They've established a new residence for themselves at Frogmore Cottage. They've been established their own separate households, so they've really kind of made it clear that they're in a very different position than Prince William and Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, are, because they, will be the future king and queen in due course, whereas Harry and Meghan will not. So there's been a very, very strong, statement in terms of what their future role is going to be. It's going to be with the Commonwealth. It's going to be with young people. So all of this has happened in the course of a year. It has been quite a lot. And again, not surprising that the child would come along, I think, as quickly as this. I think that if they're going to have other children, I expect we're going to see that happen in the next few years as well, just as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, had their children, in fairly quick succession once they started to have a family.
And you talk about them doing things their own way, and you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but there have been all those reports lately that they were thinking of moving to Africa for the next 6 months and having a posting there and really being separate from the rest of the family. Do you believe that any of that could be true? And if so, why?
I don't believe it's true, actually. I think it's wildly speculative. It was weekend news stories in the United Kingdom, which always have to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt. I think there's every chance that they will go on long tours, possibly to Africa. We know the prince has a real affinity with Africa, with Southern Africa in particular, with Botswana, and also with Lesotho, where he has a very close relationship with the royal family in Lesotho. So I think it's very possible that he will not go and do weekend or 2 or 3 day trips as they have done up until now, although their trip to Australia, New Zealand, and some Pacific Islands was, a fairly significant trip, particularly as it had just been announced at that time that the Duchess was pregnant on that trip, and that caused her some issues. So I think they will go for periods of time, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. I absolutely do not think they will move there. I don't see there's any position that they could have in any of those countries that would really necessitate that, or it would be a good idea. And frankly, with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh in their 90s, the Duke of Edinburgh having withdrawn from engagements, the Queen increasingly having a lighter schedule, Prince Harry and the Duchess are needed. And they're needed not just in Africa, they're needed throughout the Commonwealth. So,
okay, needed, Richard, but what are the expectations in terms of their duties? What duties do they have to fulfill now?
Well, I mean, it's clear that the prince is going to be very key in the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth Young People's Initiative, the Queen has some awards that are in that area. That will be a really key aspect of his future going forward. The Duchess, has started to develop interest in the theatrical world in terms of patronages, in terms of issues to do with mental health. The Prince, of course, has his Invictus, which he's meant to be going to this Thursday to launch the year out for the next Invictus Games, which are going to be in the Netherlands. So they have these other commitments. They're not necessarily in Africa. I think they have a love for that continent and various countries. And there are 17 countries of the Commonwealth in Africa, on the African continent. So they will be traveling there, but I simply don't see how it works for them to go there, to move there. The days of the British Empire where they could go and stay at a government house or be Governor General of one of these Commonwealth places, or those days are gone. And so I just don't think that that's a practical reality.
Will this baby boy have a title, Richard?
That's the question we were interrupted by Prince Harry when we were discussing. But as it stands right now, this title for this child, as of right now, is the Earl of Dumbarton. We don't know the name, whether it's James or Philip or Charles or Arthur or what the name's going to be. And I actually think there's every possibility that name could be outside the conventional group of names, because this is not a dynastic birth. This child will not have a royal title. This child will not likely succeed to the throne. We've never had someone who's been seventh in line succeed before. So, and if you look at other people who've been born seventh in line, a good portion of them have gone on to what we would consider to have a private life, a life away from the royal duties. So, I think we're probably the next announcement we're going to get is going to be name, and we'll see if they confirm at that time that is their wish that the child not take royal titles in due course, or they might leave that announcement to a time when Prince Charles becomes king, in which case this child would be entitled to the title of a prince or princess, or prince now, His Royal Highness the Prince. But I think Harry's going to want that child to have a normal life, just like we see Princess Anne's children, his cousin, Peter Phillips and Zara Phillips, their children have a regular life. They're expected to make their own way in life, and they don't have royal titles. And I think that that's going to be the case here.